Okay. Yep, the red light is on. We're ready to go.
Okay.
My brother, Sonny, as I called him all my life, was an amazing man. He was 15 years old when I was born, and I was 3 years old when he graduated from high school. I remember my mom telling me that he was so smart that when in high school he would teach the math class as the teachers stood and watched. Sonny was my parents' financial advisor and took on the challenge of trying to balance their household budget and keeping peace in our home. He and my dad purchased a car together, a Hudson. It was to be shared, but quickly my parents were getting stories of their prized possession, the Hudson, being driven in reverse down Superior Street. Always such a character and so much fun. My first recollections of him were when he joined the armed services and became a paratrooper. That was really big news in our neighborhood. Isabel and Glen's son was a paratrooper. My earliest memories are of him returning from service married to Sue and their daughter Linda, who was approximately 2 years old. Upon his return from the service, he took Duluth by storm, it seemed. He was so talented, building houses, working 2 jobs, one at the steel mill and also at the Bloomer Drive-In with his uncles. Throughout his life, he was a world traveler, mathematician, and manager extraordinaire at his job with 3M. It seemed as though he could do everything, and he was not afraid to tackle anything.
In April. Today also signaled the end of the tailgate party as we know it. Today's weather seemed an appropriate way to mark the end of these gatherings as the revelers laughed at the cold and were very intent on enjoying themselves as much as possible.
I was at the first game, me and my dad, and the Vikings beat the Bears. George Shaw got thrown out because he couldn't hack it, and Tarkenton came in and threw 5 touchdown passes.
Did you tailgate that very first game?
Nope.
When did you start tailgating?
The second game.
Hello, my name is Don Brunner. As we all know, Glen went on to be plant manager of at least 3 major factories at 3M Company, representing at least 3 major technologies. And at the same time, on behalf of 2 major sectors of business opportunity at 3M. He's widely respected in the manufacturing arena by a number of people at the highest levels of a large section of the 3M company. As I sit here today and look back at my experience at 3M, I can't think of anyone who had a broader experience, more acceptance than Glen Bloomer during his manufacturing career. His recognition was well deserved. His accomplishments are well recorded. Let's go back to about 1964. I'd been lucky enough to be named the manager of the mechanical development shop located in St. Paul, Minnesota. The mechanical development shop was a prototype shop. We built the first of all of the electromechanical devices that were being developed throughout 3M Company. Copying machines, micrographic, visual overhead projectors, green light stripers, thermoelectric generators, a wide variety of products. We had a busy and growing shop, but I began to get a lot of complaints from the shop floor about a union shop steward by the name of Glen Bloomer, who kept getting in our way. It seems when he challenged something that we were doing or not doing, he always won his case, whatever the situation might be. Glen was the kind of a guy who came to us from Duluth, Minnesota, kind of a rough guy, but I quickly learned that he did his homework, always had some goal in mind, and he always out-hustled everybody on the job. So what do you do with a guy that's such a pain in the can? He got to be a real pain in the ass. The only solution for the problem was to hire him, make him a shop foreman, and get him on our side. In retrospect, I can say that's one of the best decisions that I made on behalf of the 3M company. We started giving Glen project responsibilities, and we saw the same conditions existed. The same goal setting, dedication to his success, his hard work. Soon it was recognized by all in Glen's world that he was a guy on the rise. He was doing the job and getting the job done. So it wasn't long before he became the shop floor supervisor of the entire mechanical development shop. We were young. Enough was never enough. We always wanted more. We tried to measure ourselves by how much money we saved for 3M company, not by any simple objectives that were given to us by our management. No one gave us the objective of measuring ourselves by how much money we saved. We simply adopted it. And oh, did we have fun. We began setting up little external operations to do specific jobs. We made cameras for 3M company in Lindstrom, Minnesota. We made overhead projectors up in Brainerd, Minnesota. We made 3M games, tape dispensers, music machines, wiring harnesses, and I can't remember all the different products that we made off-site away from the mechanical development shop. But at the same time at the mechanical development shop, considering our original objectives, we were able to add a complete sheet metal facility and in-house painting facilities. And while all this was going on, you could find Glen Bloomer right in the middle of all of it. Well, that's what I remember about Glen Bloomer. That's the Glen Bloomer that I remember. When the chips were down, you could depend on Glen. He would hit a wall, bounce off of it, move over one way or the other, find a way, get through, win the game. Well, to make a short story even shorter, I got assigned as plant manager of the New Ulm factory, producing volume quantities of electromechanical products. And I can assure you that it wasn't very long before I called on my trusted colleague and friend, Glen Bloomer, to join me at New Ulm. I wanted him to come down and be superintendent of production. In his new position, frankly, Glen could, with his skills, could have mailed it in. But typical of Glen, he looked around and found something that was challenging, that would make money for 3M. He wanted to build a full-service machine shop right there in that assembly plant. And he started to pester me about it, bringing me facts and figures. He wanted to have it so that he could have quick turnaround on parts. He could be competitive on parts with our vendors at that time. And if some parts came in or out of tolerance, he could fix those up and keep the line running. All very possible. Well, I can remember Glen didn't have to support this. He didn't need to do this. All it did was create more work for him if he was successful. Well, he was successful, and it wasn't too long before New Ulm had a full-service, functioning machine shop that made a lot of money for 3M. There's as many stories about Glen Bloomer as people that Glen Bloomer has met. All of these stories would tell you pretty much the same thing. A dedicated, hardworking, creative, a fair man to work for, and a fair man to work with, and about a man who enjoyed every minute. We all had a lot of fun. Once again, Glen and I were separated. I was assigned to Europe, and while our paths crossed often in the future, we never really had the opportunity to work closely together again as we had in the past, and as we both loved so much. As I said at the beginning of my comments, Glen moved on to ever-increasing responsibilities, recognized by all for his ability to contribute. Some of you older folks like me might remember a Reader's Digest column called My Most Unforgettable Character. Well, Glen Bloomer is one of my most unforgettable characters, and I miss him. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm pleased that so many of you could show up today. I'd like to start out with a little quiz here. How many of you had a good time last night? Can I see a show of hands? Ah, that is super. How many of you think you had a good time but can't quite remember? Ah, good, I know how. It's been my understanding that people work a lot better together when they understand each other. So I'm going to try to do whatever I can to have you understand me, and I'm going to certainly take the time to try to understand each and every one of you. It's my opinion that people are our most important resource. But too often, they're our most underutilized resource. So I'd like to share a little philosophy with you. I think first and foremost is get them involved. Get them excited about what they're doing. Let's make sure that we're challenging them to find better ways of doing things. Now let's make them feel important. Because whether you realize it or not, they are extremely important. It's the people out there that make you and I look good as we do our jobs. So let's make them feel as important as they are. Let's ask them to be as good as they can be. I want to repeat that. Let's ask them to be as good as they can be, and I'm sure they'll respond. Now, there are a few people in 3M, thank God it's only a few, who believe that their years of service, or their special skill, or their profession places them in some kind of prima donna category and gives them a whole bunch of special privileges. I don't happen to buy that philosophy. There's no room on our team for prima donnas, and that includes the plant manager. Lee Iacocca said a while back that communications is the lifeblood of an organization. I happen to believe that. Communication with our people is critical to our success. It's vital that every one of us understand where we are in this competitive business, but most importantly, we understand where we're going. I've been around 3M for a lot of years and picked up a lot of gray hair in the process. I've seen a lot of successful projects, seen a few failures too. But one thing that those successful products all had in common was that there was a great amount of teamwork. Teamwork that made the project a success. So I want us to make sure that we're doing everything that we can, and you have my assurances that I'm going to do this, to get good teamwork between shifts, from shift to shift, and within a department, and across the entire plant. It's important that we look back and recognize the progress we have made. I would hope, though, that we spend most of our time looking ahead and recognizing the progress that we can make. Now I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to meet with me today.
Okay, where's Sue? Say something, Sue. Not that close. Sue.
Of all the years of fights, we only threw two things. She threw a frying pan at me, and I threw a tuna sandwich at her. And it's not the same time.
I want to thank you for being the best boss I've ever had. Caring for Sue was most definitely one of the best jobs I have ever done, and a lot of that has to do with getting to know you, working to make sure that Sue could have as good of a day as possible, always, and we made sure to have some laughs together to get through the tough moments, which there were, even if some people didn't realize it. One of the hardest things to deal with when Sue finally got to be at peace was that I lost my coworker and my boss too. It took a while to figure out how to go about my days. Then I realized it was because you, Sue, were more like family, and it felt like I had lost all of you. I can remember showing up for work a little early just to get my Glen lesson of the day. It was always one of my favorite things. Even though we didn't always agree, discussing things and listening to your wise ways will stick with me forever. How lucky your 4 children are to have you as their father. I hope they know how proudly you speak of them and their children. They are so fortunate to have such a fabulous man in their corner. And how lucky Sue was to have you as her husband. I have never known someone that has given so much for another person to make the quality of her life the best it could be. You were constantly working, researching, and communicating to be sure that she had the necessary treatment and equipment. I'm not sure how much more I can say to express how truly awesome I think you are and how big of an impact you made on my life. I honestly love you like family and will miss you more than words can say. Thank you so much again for everything.
Hi, my name is Pam Tomasoni, and my dad is Keith Benson. Glen Bloomer, a.k.a. Sonny, was my dad's best friend. Glen and my dad grew old together, finding the most joy in loving their families. We have been very fortunate to have had Glen to celebrate in some of life's greatest moments: marriages, birthdays, holidays, job quests, etc. He is truly a wonderful, caring man and will be greatly missed. He loved my dad and brought happiness back into my mother-in-law's heart. I can hear the laughter from above as they gather to share the stories.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I was very blessed to have met Glen. We had 8 wonderful years together. Between Evelyn and Siren, Sun City, along with trips to Europe, Russia, Puerto Rico, just to mention a few. Our favorite time was cruising Crooked Lake at 4 p.m. He loved his family and serving them prime rib. Everyone who met Glen loved him, including myself and my family. What a tremendous man. I loved him and thank him, and we'll all meet again. God bless.
My name is John Lesniak. With my wife, Mary, Glen and I found out, were fellow paratroopers. So I decided I need to go see this guy. I need to go talk to him, introduce myself to him. And I did, and one of the first things that he did, Glen did not suffer fools nor liars. And so he did a test on me right away. He wanted to know what the jump rules were for jumping out of perfectly good aircraft. And so I told him all of the jump instructions. And I told him the last 2 instructions were stand in the door and go, which was the last instruction. He listened to me and he decided that I was not lying, that I had told the truth about being a fellow paratrooper. Anyhow, Glen and his good lady friend Jackie, they treated us like family. They treated Mary and I like family. We went out on the pontoon with them. We'd go out to eat with them. We would go to the house and have supper with them. They were very good friends, and we miss Glen dearly. He was like a brother to me. Like I said, Mary and I adopted the 2 of them. And all I've got to say is to Glen, stand in the door and go. God bless you, brother.
The Oliver Bridge connects New Duluth and Oliver, Wisconsin. This is where my brother requests that his and Sue's and their beloved dog's ashes be cast. As he explained to me, the journey to the bridge and beyond was a story of his life. On the way to the bridge from Morgan Park, where he was born and raised, you will go past an old brick house that was once a schoolhouse. In the early 50s, Sonny totally remodeled the old schoolhouse into a beautiful home for his family. Once his ashes are cast in the St. Louis River off of the Oliver Bridge, the ashes will float past the steel plant in Morgan Park, where his work career began, and past 2 more houses that he built in the late 60s. After a quite lengthy journey up the St. Louis River, passing through West Duluth, West End, and Duluth, which were all stomping grounds for Sonny and his friends in his early life, these ashes will reach Lake Superior, his final destination. A life well lived is a phrase we hear, but seriously, Sonny had a life well lived. At age 86, he was still planning trips abroad and having a fabulous time with his friend Jackie. What a magical story. He set high standards for us all to live up to, and he encouraged us to be our best. Irish in nature, He had a fabulous personality and a grand sense of humor. You always knew when you were with him that you'd have so much fun and laugh until you could not breathe. He enjoyed his life, and we enjoyed being part of his life. On one of my last visits to him, he commented that he had a great life and he was able to do everything that was on his bucket list. A good run. He would wish the same for all of you. Live your best life. Cheers and Godspeed. We miss you already.